you. Yeah. When I get to the park. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm Chapin Spencer, Director of Public Works, and whether you intend it or not, you are at the Champlain Parkway Public Outreach Meeting for the Greater King and Maple neighborhood. To help the English language learners in the room tonight, there are interpreters present, and throughout the presentation, we'll be saying a few sentences and then pausing briefly for the interpreters to catch up. And what I'd like to do to start off is invite the interpreters to come up, say your name, what language you'll be translating, and where you're sitting for anybody who may need interpretation.
My name is Noor. I'm Somali interpreter from VRRB. I'll be sitting over there.
My name is Symphorien Sikiala. I'm here to interpret Lingala and the Swahili Sitken. I'm sitting over there.
I'm Satudo. I'm interpreting for Burmese and Karen community.
Speak again, louder.
Yeah, my name is Satudo. I speak Burmese and Karen, so I have interpreting Burmese and Karen. Thank you.
My name is Baudouin, coming from VRP. I'll be interpreting in French and Swahili. I'll be sitting there. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lilian Diziwe. I am interpreting Kirundi and Swahili. I'm from Africa Association living in Vermont. Thank you.
Bonsoir, je m'appelle Victoria et je suis une interprète de français. Si jamais vous en avez besoin, laissez-moi le savoir, je serai là. Merci.
My name is Ashok, and I'm representing AALB, and I'm for Nepali interpretation. I'll be somewhere in the back row.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dahir Kasim. I work with ALV, and ALV stands for African Association Living in Vermont, if anybody's wondering about it. And today I'm here to interpret the Somali language. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much for being here tonight and helping out with the meeting. Much appreciated. So, thank you. Great. Some housekeeping matters. Bathrooms are out the door here to the elevator, down one floor, and then down the ramp. Emergency exits are behind me in both directions outside this door. I want to thank the elected officials for attending this evening. I also want to thank the community groups who helped us with the event tonight. And that includes King Street Youth Center, the U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, the Association of Americans Living in Vermont, and Champlain Housing Trust, and the Burlington Housing Authority. Thank you as well to our project partners, and I want to introduce them. If you could raise your hand, Federal Highway Administration, Rob Sikora and Larry Dwyer. From the State of Vermont Agency of Transportation, Sue Scribner. City staff, Norm Baldwin, Susan Malzahn, Rob Goulding, and Jillian Nanton. Consulting team, Dubois and King, John Benson. Also consulting team, Clow, Haber and Associates, Dale Galzakowski, Jim Shields, Jack Scudder, and Dave Cowbell. And Stan Tech, Jack Myers, Mike Pywanski, Kevin Walsh, and Allison LaFleur. Thank you all for being here. As it says up here, the meeting goals tonight are to provide an update on the project, to provide an opportunity for the greater neighborhood to comment on the project, and we have interpreters as we've discussed. So let's talk a little bit about the format for tonight. Clow, Harbor and Associates will be presenting tonight, and please hold all comments until after the presentation. After the presentation, there will be an opportunity for public comments and clarifying questions, and Kevin Walsh from Stan Tech will be facilitating. We also have comment forms on the tables for anybody who wants to provide a written comment tonight or who wants to provide comments later in the mail. Comment period continues to October 10th. Tonight is the only opportunity for oral comments. And with that, I'm going to invite CHA up here to start the presentation. Thanks so much. Glad you're here.
Before I jump in the technical presentation, one further thought. The last slide mentions the comments, written comments are due by October 10th to that website or mailed to the addresses above. All right, we're here talking about the Parkway project. This is an aerial image of the limits of the project. The project is shown in the yellow bold line in the middle of the drawing. The red perimeter is the study area considered for the limits of the project. For reference, this is Shelburne Street, 189 interchange area, Home Avenue, up to Lakeside, Pine Street, down to Main. North is to the right. These project goals were established back in the federal document process. The general goals were to improve access to the downtown area, improving circulation and mobility on the adjacent streets, generally providing traffic relief in the southwest corridor of the city, reducing disruption to the neighborhoods, and giving the truck traffic a direct path to downtown. The project history, yes, it's an older project. It does date back to the 60s. It's been through many different gyrations. There was a federal document in 1979, an EIS, which studied the effects of the project. It was supplemented in 1997. The current project designs EIS was developed in 2009 with a record of decision confirming the alignment and the project contents in 2010. Beyond that process, we also had numerous public meetings, some of which are listed on the slide. The city hosted in May and June of 2010 meetings specifically targeted for mobility, the neighborhoods, economic development, as well as environmental. There also was a separate public meeting for the Pine Street enhancement specifically in November of 2015. We've also had numerous project meetings for the permits for right-of-way and other project meetings held by the city, specifically involving this project. I'm going to break that big project limit into smaller pieces and give you some details related to that. Again, the interchange area, Route 7, 189. This is currently the abandoned portion of the highway you're familiar with, ending at Home Avenue. We're all familiar with it. It was built and never opened to traffic. This is a photo rendering showing what we anticipate the proposed project will change that picture you just saw into. One lane of traffic for each direction, a grassed median with plantings, historic period lighting in it, and this is your transition from the expressway that's 189 to a 25-mile-an-hour city street. That's all occurring in this section. The next section is Home Avenue on the left, continuing down to Lakeside Avenue. This section will be new construction on that existing open area between many of the buildings. The right-of-way was purchased, most of the right-of-way was purchased years ago for the construction of the project. Some general details. It is a 25-mile-an-hour city street over that entire duration of the yellow I just showed on that last slide. It will be 2 lanes of traffic. There will be extra turn lanes for left turning movements at the intersections. There will be traffic signals, synchronized traffic signals, at Home, Flynn, and Sears Lane. On the east side of the Parkway, there will be a shared use path for bicycles and pedestrians that will be constructed as part of this project. That section also has lighting and landscaping similar to what you just saw on the C1 slide. In addition, we have added on-street bicycle accommodations for shared lanes over that entire section. This is a photo rendering of some of the details I just provided you. This is showing 1 lane of traffic in each direction, the historic period lighting, the proposed landscaping, the trees lining the street, the shared use path on the eastern side of the street, and the fence beyond the shared use path on the eastern side of the street only. Some other design elements not explicitly shown on those exhibits. One environmental benefit we are adding with this project design is removing the sediment load at Inglesby Brook. We're reducing the sediment load, pardon me. We are also reducing the stormwater flow that currently, in today's conditions, is directed to the city's treatment plant, which is a big benefit. Additionally, we are updating and reconstructing the 2 grade crossings in that section. Home Avenue and Flynn Avenue specifically, I will show you in just a second. This is the existing grade crossing at Home Avenue. It has a curbed median, gates and flashers, known as a silent crossing. It has a sidewalk on the southern side. This graphic shows our proposed design, which will remove those raised medians on Home Avenue. We will have gates on all 4 approaches that are synchronized to close to prevent anyone from entering when the gates are closed to allow the train to pass. We'll also have lights, flashing lights. There is a shared use path now that will be connected to that existing bike path along the southern side of Home Avenue. The rail signals and gates will be connected to the traffic signal which will occur at the Parkway and Home Avenue to synchronize movements and for safety improvements. Flynn Avenue, similar situation. Curbed island raised median, gates, flashers, existing condition. A sidewalk, in this case, on the northern side, approaching the grade crossing, but not through it. We're coming in, removing the curbed islands, four-way approach gates, rail signals, constructing a new sidewalk with gates and lights to protect pedestrians and allow the train to pass without encroachments. That too will be connected to the signal, traffic signal, at the intersection of the Parkway and Flynn Avenue. The next segment of the project, Lakeside Avenue, connecting to Pine Street down to Main Street. This is generally your downtown area in the hatched box. The general description for this portion of Lakeside and Pine is they use the city street pattern. It's not a new alignment. Lakeside Avenue is slightly realigned, but it's generally within the alignment that you see today. Lakeside Avenue does include reconstruction and drainage improvements. Pine Street is simply repaved. Other details. There will be a continuous new concrete sidewalk on the eastern side of Pine Street. The new shared use path will follow along Lakeside. It will go from Lakeside up to Kilburn Street. That is a shared use path on the western side of Pine Street. From that point, where the shared use path ends, a continuous sidewalk, concrete sidewalk, will be constructed from Kilburn Street up to Main Street. So you will have continuous pedestrian accommodations along the western side from end to end. We are also proposing raised intersections at Howard Street with the Maltex driveway, at Marble, and at Kilburn. All right. There's a Pine Street picture taken recently showing current conditions. It's a busy location, on-street parking, mass transit, mid-block crosswalks. We are incorporating on-street bike accommodations in our proposed project. Some examples. This red area here is actually a buffer adjacent to parking. So we will prevent bicycles and doors from cars to being hitting them as they go through. It is a shared on-roadway bicycle provision in that area. Additionally, as I mentioned, there is a shared use path which ends at Kilburn Street. We will create continuous pedestrian facilities. Picture shows the gap in the current sidewalk along the western side of the project. We will replace all sidewalk and all ramps up to current state and federal standards. They will all be passable sidewalks, detectable surfaces, the things you've come to know. We do also include the flashing warning beacons for mid-block crosswalks, which are activated by a pedestrian pushing the button. You're familiar with them, many exist on Pine Street today. I'll show a couple raised intersection examples. We get many questions about what those are. These are a combination of a ramp up of approximately 3.5 inches, a flat surface, and ramp back down. It includes concrete pavement, stamped pavement, colored pavement to provide a contrast. It helps pedestrians cross and helps slow traffic down. All right. This graphic, this aerial image, shows the King Street and Maple Street neighborhood in general. Oops, back one. These are consistent with all the boards we've all had a chance to talk to and ask questions about in the previous part of the meeting before the official meeting started, and show the project details. Some of the design elements include synchronized traffic signals which optimize the traffic flow through the corridor. As mentioned, there are continuous pedestrian facilities along Pine Street. In this general area that graphic showed, it's a continuous sidewalk. There will be brick-colored crosswalks at Pine and Maple and Pine and King to provide contrast. We also will have on-road bike accommodations with shared lanes. And we will maintain on-street parking consistent with city-wide ordinances. Current midday picture of the traffic conditions associated with a four-way stop. That's looking from Pine Street to Maple. This graph shows the volumes of traffic that currently use Pine Street. This is from Lakeside to Pine, the middle from Maple to King, the right from King to Main. You will notice the blue bar is existing without the Parkway, and the green bar shows the traffic volumes when the Parkway is built. You will also notice the volumes do go up, but they're able to go up because of the synchronized traffic signals and the increase in the efficiency of the traffic flow compared to the smart signals compared to a four-way stop. Okay. That same aerial image, I will show you the graphics here and call attention to a couple of colors in particular. The green dots refer to limited or no congestion at intersections. The yellow dot refers to moderate congestion at intersections, and the red dot refers to more congestion at the intersections. The colors of the lines refer to volumes of traffic that travel on that route each day. The specific volumes, I don't need to get into at this point, but it will give you a representation of where the traffic flows well and where it is harder to get traffic through. This graphic is for the no-build volumes before the Parkway is built. That's what the existing conditions are today. I'll focus specifically at Maple and Pine being the lower and congested intersection. It gets better for Maple and King, and Main and Pine go back to green. Same graphic after the Parkway is built. You'll see those green references, the green dots in the greater Maple-King area are predominantly green, including low or no congestion. Maple and Pine has limited congestion. Let me zoom in. Looking specifically at the volumes, these are the lines with the volumes. Before the Parkway is built, these are the daily traffic volumes on each of those sections. After the Parkway is built, what we're seeing is a different pattern that the traffic will follow because the signalized intersection is there. That helps with the efficiency of the system. It also helps distribute the traffic over the available routes.
And how did you get there?
Design elements specifically in this area include the pedestal-style signals at Pine and Main, as well as Pine and King. All signals on the entire project will have exclusive PED phasing. When a person pushes the button, all vehicles will stop when they get their turn in the cycle. No vehicles will be moving while you're crossing the road. We also have added curb extensions to minimize the distance a person would need to cross the road. These smart signals have both emergency vehicle and transit, mass transit considerations. I'll show you those in a second. So the traffic signals, historic period ones, similar to what you see in the city today. The PED countdowns. including the timer. Transit signal priority uses a smart signal and recognizes the mass transit approaching. That coordination tells the signal controller it needs to help the bus get through the congested traffic. So it gives a priority to the bus in the direction the bus is traveling. Similar for the emergency vehicle preemption. Different system, different purpose, but the emergency vehicles also will get the priority to clear traffic. A couple design elements specifically in the Maple and King area. We did protect some mature trees that were identified specifically by the arborist, and we are able to relocate some aerial facilities underground. Those from the area probably recognize a large tree. What we did in this case was extend the curb around it so we didn't disturb the roots and allow that tree to remain. All right. So that generally concludes the specific technical portion of the presentation. And this will give you perspective on where we are in the process at this time. Tonight, we're going to collect comments. We can take oral comments. We can take written comments. We're going to assess and compile those comments. In responses to the comments provided tonight and separately written, mailed, or emailed will be posted on the ChamplainParkway.com website listed there. Regarding comments, you'll see a number of display boards. The green display boards near the door show the information that was on the slide if you want to take a picture on the way out or copy down the information for your own use. All right, I'll turn the presentation over to Kevin.
All right, good evening. I'm Kevin Walsh. I'm with Stantec. I'm just here to facilitate the comments, the public comments, verbal public comments with the microphones. But I wanted to, I grabbed the wrong, to say you can either provide written comments if you prefer, and there are comment sheets. Somehow I didn't end up with one. There are comment sheets. You don't need to be a member of any particular area. We would like to hear from the neighborhood specifically tonight. Yes, Kevin?
You need to do this. This meeting has a specific purpose. It's designed to get input from people. Can I go up to the mic?
Yeah, sure. Well, why don't we start? So I guess sorry, I don't like mics. So what we're going to do is we'd like to hear from the neighborhood as much as possible. So we're going to encourage anyone from the neighborhood to if they would like to provide a comment verbally, to come up first, and then we will ask you to sign in with your name and your street. You'll have, there are a lot of people here, so we want to give everyone a chance to speak, so we're going to try to limit those to 3 minutes. And I'll have a timer just to help. And once you get to the end, then we'll thank you. We'll take those comments into consideration, and you'll see them posted on the website and with our responses. So, go ahead.
My name's Steve Goodkind. I don't live in the neighborhood, but I'm one of the people that probably instigated the meeting. This meeting was designed to get input for a very specific reason. That's environmental justice. And I didn't hear any explanation as to what you're looking for or what people should be concerned about, because there's a lot of things that were shown tonight, but I suspect when you get the comments on them, you're just going to say it has nothing to do with environmental justice, and that's your answer. I think you owe an explanation tonight as to what the criteria you're going to be looking at is and what are the implications of it. And I also think having 1 week to get comments back is unreasonable. I don't know what the rush is, but it gives you basically 1 week. I think a lot of people are seeing this for the first time, and it's asking an awful lot to think you're going to get back something meaningful if you really want it. So I think you got to do some explaining as to what you're really looking for in this meeting and what you're not looking for, and not waste time, but let people focus, because I don't think most people have an idea of what's going on here as far as this meeting. How do you count weeks?
2 weeks from tonight is the closing comments.
It's the 4th. 10th, okay.
Is
It's
there
a little better.
So it is
Anyway, I think you should explain what this meeting is really about.
The purpose of this meeting is to hear from all the communities what your concerns are, but we're specifically targeting and trying to hear from the Maple and Kings neighborhood. It's whatever your concerns are with regard to the project.
There's a federal requirement of what they should be focusing on.
The federal requirement does not limit the scope of comments.
You're supposed to be talking about if this is providing an unproportional burden on the low-income neighborhood that it goes through. That's what this is about. A disproportionate impact. That's what this is about, right?
We're not here to discuss whether or not there's a disproportionate effect to any neighborhood, disproportionate adverse effect. We're here to hear your comments and then to understand those and take them into consideration as we do that analysis.
Hi.
I'm going to go back to the timer.
Could you go back to the map that shows where the bike path ends in front of Curtis Lumber, please? One of my concerns is that bike paths... My name is Rick Sharp. I run Burlington Segways. Our business is located at 277 Pine Street, so we're very familiar with that area and the needs of people there, including the farmers market. A lot of people are going down that street in that area. Okay, so I like to see the area. Yeah, the wrong way. Area of the map where it goes in front of Curtis Lumber. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So one of my biggest problems with what's going on in the city today is that the bike paths that you install are disjointed. Okay, and then you dump people into the middle of nowhere. Okay, and that's exactly what this is doing here. Okay, so my belief is that there is enough space. I understand that further up Pine Street you cannot put a 10-foot path in there because there's enough space between the building and the street. Specifically at the carpet place there. But you can extend the path. Most of the people that are coming up that pathway, they're going to go all the way into Burlington, okay? So don't just dump them onto Pine Street here. My feeling is that you can extend that pathway all the way up to the entrance to Curtis and the other businesses there just before you get to the carpet company. But when you rebuild the sidewalk from there up to Main Street, don't put in a 3 or 4 foot sidewalk. It should be as wide as possible, okay? And if you got to take out the green strip to do that so that we can run our segways up Pine Street into downtown, okay? And everybody else can come up and down there, particularly on Saturday mornings if the farmers market is going to stay down there. There's a crowd coming down there. So don't just dump people onto the street there. Make sure that the sidewalk... You got to think about people coming all the way into downtown. Don't just dump them at Kilburn. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I should have said this at the beginning. I apologize. As you're speaking, we do have interpreters here. If you can speak slowly, that aids in the interpretation. Do we have any other folks who would like to speak? Yeah. And have we heard from anybody from the neighborhood at this point? Or anybody from the neighborhood who would like to speak?
Hold on, if you could fill this out. Can I fill it out after? Yeah.
I just want to give them the opportunity.
Okay. My name.
Right after this? Okay.
My name is Andrew Simon. I live 1 block east of Pine Street, not in King and Maple, but in near Callahan Park. I'm a senior. I am a Ward 5 steering committee, NPA steering committee member. I am low income. One of the things I would like to know about this plan, not so much about the Parkway plan because I've seen the plan before, but this process that we're going through right now is how else will you be gathering data from those affected by the Parkway, low-income people, seniors, people who are not in the King and Maple area, because there are certainly people in my part of Pine Street who are in those categories and are affected by this. I am 1 block away from Lakeside, where all of the proposed plan, all of the traffic will be dumped onto Lakeside and then onto Pine Street. So our neighborhood is going to be sort of ground zero in a certain way for the influx of traffic, the increase in traffic. My life will definitely be affected by this plan. I don't have a car. I am a walker, a biker, a public transit user, and I have a granddaughter who's 5 years old. So all of those things are impacted by this increase of traffic. So I guess I would very much like to know what the rest of this gathering input process is in a step-by-step basis. The slide that was up there about this really only said we're gathering comments, but didn't say where that's going to happen, when that's going to happen, how that's going to happen, and to what extent you are consulting people in other neighborhoods other than King and Maple. Because there's certainly people who are low-income people affected by the Champlain Parkway plan, seniors and others who live in further down Pine Street all the way down to Flynn Avenue, where the Flynn Avenue Co-op is, Jackson Terrace at just around the corner from me, many, many people who will be touched by this. So I guess besides just registering this comment, I am actually asking a question about this. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Susie Taylor, and I live on Lower Maple Street. And I have a hard time with this because I really do respect people's hard work. And I am not a traffic person, I am not an engineer, I am a biker, a walker, a dog owner, and a longtime Burlington resident. And I do find it sort of curious that it never really has been made clear to me why this meeting is focusing on Maple and King Street. My opinion is that it's focusing on Maple and King Street because we are the lowest income neighborhood around. And understanding that, I come from a place, I'm educated, I'm privileged, and I can't figure this stuff out. I go to the website and I come away with a headache. If Chapin weren't patient enough to answer some of my questions, I probably wouldn't even have the patience to be here tonight. But having said that, my neighbors don't have time or ability. They are feeding their children, they are cooking their dinner, they are trying to just live their lives. What I hear from many of my neighbors who do not have cars, the children who wait for the school buses in the morning, the parents who try to protect their kids, is you take your life in your hands because cars don't stop, they don't pay attention, people are on their cell phones. We sit on our porch at night when the traffic is backed up from Pine Street down to South Champlain Street, and yeah, they're not going fast, but they're all on their cell phones. Nobody's paying attention to the pedestrians. And what the answer is to fix that, I don't know. And I do have a couple of questions, and I can't get the information, and some of them is the traffic numbers. It looked like roughly 3,000 increase. Where do those numbers come from? The EIS, hey, come on, it's outdated, in my opinion. I don't understand. I think if we did an EIS currently, it would look very different from what you all are working with. And I would really, I think we should have a new EIS. You mentioned curb bump outs. Interesting. We just had an experience with curb bump outs at the corner of St. Paul Street and Maple. They had to take them out because it doesn't work for traffic. I respect, again, you want green streets, you want, I've forgotten the right term, but we do want people. We want people walking, we want people biking, we want people driving, but we want them all to do it safely. So where are the curb bump outs? Where does the sidewalk end when you go down Pine Street? On the west side, the railroad crossing at the bottom of Maple Street. The sidewalk stops there now. There's not a sidewalk to get across to the lake. Thank you, Perkins Pier. Trucks now can't make a left-hand turn from Pine onto Maple. I've seen traffic back up. I've seen accidents with cars, children, bicycles, walkers. And I understand that there is no, that left-hand turns are still going to be allowed from Pine Street and King Street, and there will be no dedicated lane. I just want to say it's a nightmare, and there can't be any restriction of any increase of those sidewalks and any restriction of that road there, because trucks can't do it now.
And I'd like to...
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for your comments, and if you want to provide further written comments to expand on those, we welcome those. Thank you very much. Can you please state your name?
My name is Donna Walters, and I live at the intersection of Maple Street and South Champlain. I live in a Burlington Housing Authority property called Wharf Lane Apartments, and I am speaking tonight on behalf of the steering committee for the Wharf Lane Residents Association. I also, being on the steering committee for that Residents Association, network closely with resident leaders at Decker Towers and Bob and Mill. And so Bob and Mill is on South Champlain Street and Decker Towers is on St. Paul Street. It's mostly, well, the building I live in is a multi-family unit. There's people with disabilities and elderly people and families with children that live there. And Decker Tower has mostly elderly and people that are disabled. It's actually the tallest building in the city, or in the state, I guess. The environmental concerns for families with children are mostly centered around biking to school safely and to the park that's down on Pine Street, and kind of like what the gentleman from Segways had to say, the disjointed bike and walk path is a problem and a concern for parents. I would not let my children ride down a shared bike path. Kids are like goofing off when they're walking to school, and somebody who's buzzing along going 15 miles an hour on a bicycle, I mean, a kid could just likely jump right out in front of that bike because his buddy pushed him out. It doesn't seem like a safe alternative for kids coming and going to school or to the park. And so it really seems like those need to be separated in order to be safe. And it seems to work on the bike path along the lake, but we're not dealing with traffic there. And on Pine Street, you're dealing with traffic. And there's no, the other thing is it protected? so I'm not sure. Is it protected, the length, the shared bike path or shared use path?
There is a buffer.
There's a buffer that's considered, that's a protected shared use path. The whole length of the street from Main Street to the school. Can we ask questions and get answers, or we're just giving comments?
Just giving comments tonight.
Okay, so the concern that the whole length of the street to and from school for anybody who lives on Pine Street or in one of the neighborhoods that would feed onto Pine Street is a concern. The other thing that is a concern, the environmental and increased health concerns for the elderly and disabled who are walking, using electric wheelchairs, and breathing car fumes. So for folks who are using electric wheelchairs and scooters, they're more inclined to actually ride in the road because it's safer for them to ride on a pathway that doesn't have a bunch of cracks in it, like a sidewalk. And I've heard many stories of people that are on a scooter or electric wheelchair that either tipped over or sustained like a substantial damage to their wheels because of going over a curb or hitting a crack that dumped them over and broke their axle. And it's not like a car where you can just go to the garage and get it fixed in a couple days. It takes a lot longer to get an electric wheelchair or electric scooter fixed when you have an accident like that. So they're more likely to ride on the shared use, what you're proposing as the shared use path, which is like a road. Is that correct? I mean, if it's like a sidewalk where you have blocks of cement that heave with the frost, that would be problematic. But if it's more like the road, like the bike path along the lake, that would be preferred alternative for them. However, if it's not protected, that's a problem because you got cars buzzing by and people on bicycles who are going faster than someone on an electric wheelchair. So, and
I apologize.
yeah.
We need
Right.
to
There's
move on
just-
to the next speaker.
There's like two other points I would like to make. One is the elderly who are walking.
I can give you a little bit, 20 seconds. We just have a big line behind.
All right, I just want to touch on breathing fumes from cars that are idling. And so right now it's a big problem. Where I live on Maple Street, I have a neighbor who lives on the Maple Street side of the building. She suffers from asthma. A lot of old people have more sensitive respiratory systems, and they get more sensitive as they get older. Many of them have COPD or asthma. And so they can't open their windows if there's traffic idling underneath their window. Or it could literally send them to the emergency room, and has. So for exchanging stop signs for traffic lights does not solve the problem for the idling traffic. And it seems to me that roundabouts would keep the traffic moving a little faster and prevent cars from idling underneath windows.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome to provide written comments. I appreciate that. Thank you. And if you would like to,
Would you like
when
me to
everybody
talk?
else has a chance to speak, if you want to come up again, you're welcome to.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for your time to do this. It was a lot of energy you had to put into this. I, very importantly, think that you must have more than one meeting. This is a $43 million project, and it's going to disrupt the entire South End. Especially, I'm Carolyn Bates. I'm a low-income, track 8. I used to be low-income with my business in track 10 on Maple Street. I've been here since 1973 with my businesses. And also, I've been partially disabled 4 times when I've had to be in a wheelchair. And one accident happened because of a bad sidewalk, and I ended up needing a new hip from it. This whole plan is not safe. It's slow, unsafe, expensive, and a lot of it is unnecessary. Just look at how the bikes go. Have you really studied that bike path? Maybe you want to take a close-up of this. Going north, there's one part of your Champlain Parkway that doesn't even have a space for a bike. So does that mean they have to portage their bike or carry them north? Completely illogical. Completely illogical and completely unsafe for any children trying to walk. You do not want bikes with pedestrians. On some points, they're on the right-hand side, and some points, they're on the left-hand side. Then they're with the cars, and then they're in a separate bike lane. Please, you must not use your present plan there, ever. Now, we also have the King Street, Maple Street, which is our very low income, the lowest income, I think, for entire Burlington. We have 200 Section 8 residents in this neighborhood, 21 different housing districts in this neighborhood. Are you paying any attention to them? They walk. If they need to get to City Market, they need to bus. And what have you done? You've dead-ended Pine Street with a roundabout that the buses can't go around. So doesn't that mean then that the people south of Home Avenue will no longer have a bus to take? What about all those people in South Meadow? They need buses. A lot of them are disabled. I have maps also to show you the housing. Now we get into stoplights. You know, the federal government has set in safety laws since this EIS, and the safety laws say, do you need to get something? The safety laws say no federal highway can be built unsafe. A stoplight, we know, is unsafe. We've had 2 people killed in the last 20 years in this city because of a stoplight. Roundabouts have had no deaths anywhere in Vermont. And roundabouts are 8 seconds to go through, and stoplights 30 seconds. And you're adding 6 more stoplights. So that estimates 3 more minutes slow time on Pine Street. I think you should get a roundabout any place you want to put a stoplight. They're faster, safer, 50% less money. They're greener because there's less pollution and none of us want more bad air to breathe. The maintenance is nominal, where a stoplight, it's $5,000 minimum a year. And left-hand turns will be able to be made on King and Maple because the buses and trucks can go around a roundabout and not a stoplight. They're also bike-friendly and pedestrian-friendly, and stoplights are not.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your comments. And again, you can provide written comments. And we'll take your figures.
Yeah, I will. I was waiting. Yeah, my name is Spencer Smith. I live at the Flynn Avenue Cooperative Homes on Flynn Avenue, across from where the new City Market is and a block or less from Pine Street. Is there any chance we could see an image of that neighborhood, the Flynn and Pine, and where the plan is to go through? That's King and Maple. Flynn Avenue and Pine, that area. Okay, that's it, that one we just saw. I think, let's see, yeah, so, no. The one, unfortunately, this is an old thing. It doesn't show City Market, which is a big presence. You can see the railway across at the top. Then those gray roof buildings are old industrial buildings that now have offices in them. Then there's parking. And then you'll see there's a green space. And across from that green space, if we could see what's... I'll show you.
speak louder, please?
So, well, there was a question, what was that?
I want you to state it into the mic so it's recorded.
Okay, so we see that intersection of Flynn and the proposed Parkway. And up on the left is the city market, if you know. Just this side of the railway is the city market. These were all old buildings that were torn down. So we have a concern that the pollution of the neighborhood is going to become worse for our children. We already have very heavy traffic now on Flynn because of City Market and also the large tankers and all the moving vans that are down the other side of the railroad. So the problem is that when I moved here into the Flynn co-ops from Montpelier in 2007, there were very few children in the co-op, and that's the way it was from the founding. But because of certain legal issues that came up, we now have had 20 children for a number of years. And they range from birth to teens, people 15 and 16. So I'm very concerned about that, and I thought there was going to be a meeting where we could bring in the area, probably at City Market. They have a large space we could use. Where our members could come, because they all work, they have little children, they couldn't come downtown at this time of day. They're busy feeding their kids and laundry and everything. So I just feel very concerned that there's not going to be a chance for people in that neighborhood. And also there's the Raymond place, is it one, the South Meadow housing, which is also largely low income. There are many children in the neighborhood because of the Champlain school, and they're walking to work and walking to school. I mean, the kids are walking to school, and the traffic is very heavy, and I'm concerned that it's going to become worse. Also, we'll lose that wildlife area, which is, we see fox, we see deer, we see, of course, squirrels, plenty.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Kyle Creason. I live at 174 Home Avenue. I speak for myself, a parent who works with young children, and a lot of my neighbors. Lots of them have young children as well. Neighbors from Scarf Avenue, Home Avenue, South Meadow, that sort of area. Okay, so if we want to talk about safety for kids, we try to walk our children to school, as well as a lot of our friends. Right now, there's so much tractor-trailer traffic on Home Avenue, trying to turn onto Pine. Same thing with Flynn. Basically, we have a system. When one of these gargantuan trucks comes to the intersection where we're waiting to cross, we have to back up because multiple times people have almost been hit. This is the reason the project's going in, okay? To try to get traffic off these streets, right? Also, the noise, the pollution, all the studies have shown that Home Avenue, Flynn, and that area of Pine was not constructed or ever intended to handle the kind of volume of traffic it gets now. There's so much traffic, huge tractor trailers, FedEx, everyone's online shopping. There's all kinds of things trying to get down to the industrial part of the South End. That is extremely dangerous and loud for people who live there. The Champlain Parkway will help to alleviate that. It is absolutely necessary. I'd also like to mention, because people who don't live in the area probably don't know this, there are a lot of people who live around us who are in wheelchairs, okay? There's no good, the sidewalks are up on Shelburne Road and then intermittently down on Pine, but there's always potholes there. The sidewalks down Home Avenue are so rough that they can't use them. So I've actually have a couple of my neighbors who use wheelchairs who come by that I go out when they're coming through because they have to go down Home Avenue in their wheelchair. Numerous times there have been tractor trailers there that have almost run them off the road. People are in a hurry commuting. It is so unacceptable, the current situation. And I don't think that's something that people who keep protesting this and want to speak about it understand. It's as if, things are operating as they should right now, and this road is going to bring traffic onto these neighborhood streets. It's there, and it's not good at all. Finally, I'd like to say that the city, in trying to keep larger businesses in town to pay taxes, like Burton, Higher Ground, City Market was similar. Their being able to build in the places they are is predicated on the Champlain Parkway, right? So so part of the argument is the Champlain Parkway is coming in. All of these traffic studies, it's going to be okay. It's going to get better once that's built, okay? That's probably true, but it hasn't been built. And if it's not built, all of these things are getting done in the name of money on top of falsehoods. And so I'd just like to say that if Higher Ground comes in, the same kind of traffic, 1,200 person music venue, these people are going to be coming in at night. So 10:30, 11, traffic starts getting better, right? Or probably, 9:30, 10:30, 11. So that's going to fill up that time. We will get no respite from the extreme amount of traffic coming down home. So thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments.
My name's Lynn Vera, and I live at the other end of all this, at the end of Pine Street where it becomes Queen City Park Road in the neighborhood of Queen City Park. And I've lived there for, 30-something years. I've used Pine Street. I've seen the changes in Pine Street, the traffic that tries to get down Pine Street. There is no way for me, other than by water, to get to Burlington without dealing at some point with Pine, Maple, King, all the mess. The longest that I really have tried to study this connector, tried to make some sense of why there would be a throughway to bring even more traffic just still to get dumped before you can get into the city. When Chapin took his job, I hoped that that meant there would be a little sanity, levity to the idea of increasing traffic to get dumped down there. I live where there's lots of parking now, the connector that never got built. And I always fantasize that people of, I don't want to use a poor word. I've fantasized that people, and Chapin put you in that group, that would think of that as a spot to park cars and create something that Vermont could be proud and excited of, an aerial tram to haul all these people and bring them downtown. I hear the gentleman in front of me. Certainly, I've looked at all those neighborhoods. I have friends in all those neighborhoods. You got to get trucks out of there. You have to fix sidewalks. We need some way to get those vehicles into town. But it doesn't need to be the road for every vehicle going into town, and most vehicles don't need to go into town and wouldn't if there were a sane, accessible place like that ugly Kmart that's now becoming another huge parking lot. Why not plunk all those cars there and bring people downtown in another way? There's so many unpolluting ways of moving large numbers of people. And if we're going to even talk about spending this kind of money, we should be getting people out of their cars who need to get into town and just let the trucks and the cars that have to go. If I lived on any one of those streets and saw a 4,000 car increase and I'm just supposed to swallow it, I would be crazy tonight. And I do agree with everyone. This one meeting, although it's nice, you got to get to where the people are, not expect them to come here if you can do that. But come on, Chapin, we're looking for you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, I'm Sandy Henneberger. I live in Colchester, and I'm part of the group that would love for you to do roundabouts instead of traffic signals. I think they're mostly safer. I was a hard sell on this, and I'm convinced now they're safer, and maybe they're not even, I haven't looked into that much, but one thing I do know about are these multi-use paths. They're a joke. You're depending on almost no one using them. That artist picture, there was no people on that walkway. No people, no bikes. And yeah, people say that it works on the bike path. Well, I use the bike path and it does not work if you have a volume of people using it. Supposedly bikes can't go, well, like the bikes that you get in the town, can't go more than 10 miles an hour. 10 miles an hour is fast for a pedestrian. I've had friends that have had really bad accidents on these multi-use paths, and in Colchester they just put another one in, and it looks lovely, it looks peaceful, it looks wonderful, and no one uses it. As soon as you're depending on people not walking, not using their bike. What we really need to have are designated bike paths that are separate from people walking, or you are creating accidents. And that's really all I have to say. This sounds like a complicated project. Good luck.
Thank you for your comments.
Hello, my name is Charles Simpson. I live in Burlington, but up at Summit Ridge. And I'm a retired professional sociologist with published studies of work in Lower Manhattan, including highway planning. And I have to say that while in speaking with all due respect, what you've presented here is an exercise in magical thinking. You talk about shared use for paths. We've already seen that when you add together the segways, the folks on wheelchair access, the parents pushing children in carriages, old elderly people, add that to bikers, it just doesn't work. You have to know it doesn't work. It's not a solution. You talk about synchronized signals as speeding up the 1/3 increase in traffic that you predict at the king end of Pine Street, and yet you talk about pedestrian at will signals. You talk about emergency vehicles that can change the lights. There will be no synchronized signals. You have to know that. You talk about connectivity. You're breaking off. You're asking the low and moderate income people in South Meadow that may not have cars you've broken their connection to South Burlington and all of the shopping in South Burlington. That doesn't make any sense. You talk about this as somehow free money because we're going to be getting 95% of this from the federal government, without realizing that we have to, as taxpayers in Burlington, we're going to have to retrofit this road because it's a limited access highway and it doesn't fit into our industrial district. And those jobs, those employers will not have access to that road unless curb cuts are made. And at the same time, we have to maintain this road in perpetuity. So it's not a free road. You talk about servicing the needs of downtown, the original rationale for this highway. It doesn't make any sense. Every one of your purposes and needs is not served by this highway. You talk about getting around. You talk about lost my place here. Okay. You talk about enhancing economics in the city. You have taken 6 acres and paved it over in the enterprise zone. You have precluded that from being a job creator. You talk about environmental enhancement. You have put in 200 feet of culvert to channel Englesby Brook. One thing after another, it seems to me, is in contradiction to the rationale and the public relations that surround this highway. It simply is in the wrong place. It's overdone. All you would need to do to solve the problem of trucks is to enhance the C1 section from home to the interstate, put in a roundabout at the terminus of Pine Street, and you would have all of that truck traffic out of that neighborhood. And it's a simple solution. It's half built already. It was abandoned, but it could be certainly enhanced. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
My, what a huge project. My name is Stephen Marshall. I'm a resident of Burlington. I'm very interested in community development. As a driver, I would love to be able to cruise down 189 and keep on going into town down that Parkway. Boy, that would be a really nice experience. I have to question, though, whether we really want to be investing so much money into a project which is intended to help people drive cars. Okay, we need to deliver trucks. In the near term, the next 10, 20 years, I suppose we're still using all that transportation infrastructure. It's our style, it's our culture, it's what we do. But we really do need to be looking at how to escape our dependence on fossil fuels. And this encourages fossil fuel use. Okay, so more detail, going down the scale here. If you look at Burlington geographically, you notice that it's kind of captured by its geography. It's got a river on the north, it's got an interstate highway on the east, it's got an interstate-like highway on the south end, and so there are very, very few ways to escape except through these major highway channels. You got 127, you got Williston Road, you've got Shelburne Road. One of the really nice things about Pine Street right now is that you can escape 4 different traffic lights by going straight down Pine Street. And I want to say to anybody who lives in that neighborhood, I do feel sympathy for you might be rejoicing that you're going to escape from all that traffic. And I'm sorry about that. I don't know how we balance this, but it looks to me like a perfect location for a roundabout, right there where Pine meets this new road. I was just in Britain, experienced a lot of roundabouts, maybe a few too many, but it's a good location for that. I'm really, really disappointed that intersection over there, Shelburne Road and 189, that's not a roundabout. Highway administration has got to look at roundabouts to replace cloverleaf. They work beautifully. Those are the roundabouts that I encountered in Britain that really worked. Anyway, please do not close Pine Street at its conclusion down there. Put in a nice roundabout. Let us continue to be able to move through there. My final question is, what's happening to the property on Sears Lane? I'm part of the homeless camp down there, and we're anticipating having our camp bulldozed. We noticed a pattern that the city is developing property after property after property, and we end up not having a place for people to camp. And that's the last thing. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Could you clearly state your name?
My name is Claire Leonard. I live on South Champlain Street. I came to this meeting with questions, and a number of times in response to people asking questions, instead of providing comments, you've said that this meeting is for giving comments. So I suppose that my main comment here is I would really like an opportunity to not just offer comments, but to ask questions in order to be able to offer more informed comments. Maybe I just missed other meetings, though it sounds as though many of them happened several years ago, so I might have just missed them. But this is the first meeting I've seen that is addressing the concerns of residents of these neighborhoods. And I have a lot of questions about the methodology of the traffic studies, stormwater issues, economic concerns for the neighborhoods, and I would like an opportunity to ask those questions before I can offer more informed comments. So I suppose my comment is that I would like a chance to ask better questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Hi, my name is Laurie Smith. I live in South Burlington and Queen City Park. And I want to comment about this planet that we're living on. Last Friday, there was a strike for the climate. Our planet's on fire, and we're building more roads. We have Plan B TV, which is talking about creating a bike and walk-friendly community, but we're building a road that brings more cars into Burlington. What are we doing? We have an existing road from I-89 to Home Avenue that could be opened up, get truck traffic off the ground streets. We don't need more roads. We don't need more cars in Burlington. We've been talking about this since the 70s. We want to take car parking off the streets in Burlington so that it's more bike friendly, but we're increasing our dependence on cars. Please. We're killing ourselves. And maybe it doesn't matter. Let's build another road. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Please clearly state your name and your street.
My name, Charlie Messing. I live at Pine and College. So whoever's roaring down Pine, if they continue past Main Street, they'll go past my house. Sorry about these glasses. I had an eye operation and everything is totally glary. It's driving me nuts. Pardon. I've always looked at the dead end of Pine Street at Bank, and I've been skeptical of making that street go through, reconnecting the street. At this point, it seems to be between the arch that used to go down to the parking garage in the Free Press building, and it will become a street, one way, one lane either way, and the bikes and people walking will be 20 feet to the left. That's pretty surrealistic to me, but reconnecting the street so that it can go to Pearl Street, I don't see the point. I agree with everybody, 20 people before me, yes, building a road, it is my dream. I mean, there's a reason that this thing is a stack of filing cabinets worth of material extending 60 feet up. I mean, it's a beautiful sculpture, one of my favorites in town. And it's about the folly of this. And we, as developer-minded people, looking forward to the future and activating all kinds of stuff, we love this idea because it's an idea. It's a building something, it costs a lot of money. These are qualities. It is my dream that we do not build this, that we do not increase the traffic on Pine Street, that we try to keep cars out of town. And I would like, and Pine Street shouldn't dead end. I would like nothing more than all the changes that have been mentioned tonight, or just forget the whole thing and fix all the sidewalks in town. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments.
My name's Laura Waters. I just have a very quick comment. I'm confused because I thought this meeting tonight was billed as an outreach to get comments from the King Street and Maple Street neighborhoods, although you said that's not really what this is about. But you brought in all these translators to help people from those neighborhoods to understand the project, to comment on the project. There's no one here. And you've got one meeting. So where are the people that we're supposed to be providing outreach to discuss the project, to let them express their concerns about the project? And I think having one meeting where all you have are translators and nobody, or very few people probably from that neighborhood, certainly no one from that neighborhood has spoken, is really very inappropriate, and that you need to have more meetings, you need to have more outreach, you need to find out where these people are so that you can clearly outreach to them and talk to them about what this project means and how it's going to impact their neighborhoods.
Thank you very much for your comments. Please state your name and your neighborhood, your street.
Yeah, hi.
I'm Ron Krupp, and I have the solution. Yeah. If anyone's been to Portland, Oregon, you might have noticed the light rail system that takes people into town and back. Well, believe it or not, we have railroad tracks very close to the Champlain Parkway. And we could use those railroad tracks to take people from Shelburne Road right into town, right to the waterfront. And then we could have jogs that would go up to the medical center, go up to the university, go up to the downtown. And if we didn't have light rail, we could use buses that would take people. And we have a large parking area right up near Shelburne Road. So we could combat pollution. We could use the Parkway to build housing, to have shops, because we certainly have a housing crisis in this town. So we could do all of those things with some simple solutions. Some of you may be out of a job, but I'm talking about the people that are wearing the, you know. Anyway, that's my solution. I live down in Queen City Park. The idea is to close off Pine Street right where Queen City Park hits Pine Street. You know what that's going to do? It's going to send people down Shelburne Road. That's going to be a mess. So there is a simple solution if you just listen to me.
Thank you for your comments. Please clearly state your name and your street.
Hi, I'm Vicki Smith, South End resident, Crescent Road, but I work smack in the middle of the King Street, Maple Street neighborhood. I'm the director of King Street Center. And I want to thank all the interpreters for joining us this evening. And I'm disappointed that more families couldn't join us, but I do want to say that there was an outreach effort made to our families, interpreted materials, translated materials, so they could join us. It's a difficult time of evening, and I'm hoping we can pull together an outreach endeavor at King Street Center so that more of our families, we have one of our families joining us this evening, so they can join us. I guess what I have heard from families is less about the actual project and more about phasing. We use the words we've been under siege with road work and construction in that neighborhood. It has been untenable, and that impacts quality of life. It impacts children's performance in schools and at the center and in their neighborhoods. It's just been a lot. So I hope that whatever magical project comes forward, and we're lucky to live in a city that can address infrastructure issues, but we have to be sensitive to really well thought out phasing for the children and families that live there, many of whom they speak 5 languages, but English might be 5. And it's difficult to articulate just how difficult the noise and the danger of walking among these construction projects brings to bear on their lives. So thank you, and we'll let folks know when there's a meeting at the King Street Center. We look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Now, actually, before you...
I want to say one thing. The current Pine Street, part of this project is trying to get this traffic off the road that runs right in front of Champlain Elementary. Everybody keeps talking about we need to save the children from this. All these cars go right in front of the elementary, right now. It's going to move it down away from that. All these kids from all these neighborhoods go there and go to school. So there's so many things that seem to be missed by people when they talk about this. And I don't know if people even realize that, because Champlain Elementary wasn't shown on the map, I don't think.
Thank you for your comments. Pardon me?
Just a comment.
Yep, sure.
Thanks for having me here today. My name is Dahir, and I'm an interpreter. And I'm engaging into the community every day in my life for the past 5 years. And what I actually know is we talk about all these ideas, yes, but there's also some positive too I hear. I was like, A couple of weeks ago, we were at the old folks' home, and we were discussing about bike line to be increasing, and there was a lot of support was in our group that we did agree with that one. And the reason of that is for the safety. Yes, there's going to be a vehicle all over the place, correct? But what I'm thinking about it is, if I speak on behalf of my community, my people, most likely is an African family that don't have just 2 kids or 1 child. I'm speaking on behalf of my people, and this is like literally is you will see a mother with the 8 kids trying to cross a road. They're not even comfortable to drive their vehicle from the Pine Street all the way to South Meadow. And that is like, it's been a major problem since day one, and I've been hearing about this. And this is a good outcome. Yes, I understand that we're trying to renovating our roads, we're trying to fix our sidewalks and all that stuff, but do we actually thought to expand the sidewalk and also have a specific road for just the bikers and people to be considered with other civilians there who's actually like on a wheelchair or what so on. So what I'm thinking about it is like, for me and for my people out there, I would like to ask 2 more meetings, not 1, 2 more meetings, and I would like for you guys to come down the family room. I will volunteer to organize some families, and I also want them to be heard by their voice. I'm not the one who's going to speak out for them, and most of them people, they are low income, as what I heard. Yes, is correct, but the majority of amount of the kids, that makes large difference, and a lot of the drivers that don't pay attention with maybe driving with their phone or maybe not watching where they're going for it. There's a police for a reason, and there's some rules and law out there. So if they break it, yeah, it could be a good civilians that who's walking down the road, he could get some information. But we want it down at Pine Street to be renovated because we already seen it down at North Winooski Avenue, and it feels great to see that also bicycle have a right to share on the road. But I'm talking about people who walks down the street, that we need that expanded sidewalk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, that's it. You've spoken before.
Well, I had a question about your process. I have a question about the project now. That was just
okay.
Meeting question.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make sure that everyone had an opportunity to speak before we brought up another, but you're right, you asked about the process, so please go ahead. And state your name.
I'm Steve Goodkind. 10 years ago, when we last did an EIS for this project, the city was vehemently opposed to this version of the project, specifically where it no longer goes through the rail yard, but it goes through the neighborhood of Pine, Maple, and King. As part of our efforts to discourage this option and push for another, information was prepared regarding environmental justice, which is what this meeting is about tonight. Back in those days, we were told, well, that really wasn't a criteria, and it never made it into the EIS, as far as I know. But this information exists. In other words, the city has a request and supporting documentation that talks about environmental justice, and I think even in the last 10 years, those concerns are even greater. Some of the consultants here tonight, in fact, probably worked on that. And what I'm requesting is that that document be made available. People can look at it and have a better idea, again, what the issue is here, because it is environmental justice, and the city was on record trying to make a case that environmental justice precluded this particular option being selected. So I would appreciate it if that could be made available, and I couldn't agree more with the gentleman that said more meetings. I went down to Public Works last week and asked them about their process, and I was told there probably would be more meetings. This was just like one. So I think more meetings, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Tony Reddington. I live on North Winooski Avenue. I'm a resident of the Old North End and along with the Pine King Maple area, we have over 80% of our residents who are low and median income, and low income and poverty level income. It's a key point about what these two areas are like. It's not just that you're low income. There's something that goes along with that. And that is about 40% of the folks who, households that live in the King Maple neighborhood and the Old North End do not have a car and have no access to a car. But we don't hear much about that. So when we talk about the importance of walking and biking, this isn't just a nice thing to go scurrying around to enjoy life. It's a necessity. And quite frankly, the biggest defect in this project, as you will know, is the fact that this plan has no protected bike lanes anywhere in the project. Paint does not protect the bike lane. Physical barriers do. Not only is there no protected bike lanes, there's no separate sidewalk anywhere in this project that's being built. We're taking away sidewalk on parts of that's existing right now in the front of Chapin's own office. They're taking sidewalk away and making it a shared use path. It's irrational. But this isn't just my thinking. It's also the thinking of the plan, walk, bike of the city, and also the regional plan for active transportation, just 2 years old. They call for separate protected bike lanes from the top of Pine Street at Bank Street all the way down to Flynn Avenue. You can look it up just as well as I can. And one of those plans, what are we doing with this project? We're not providing 1 inch of protected bike lane. We're spending $47 million and not getting a quality bike lane anywhere in the project. Number 2, we're also not getting any sidewalk. We're actually degrading the ability to walk and bike. I'm not going to go into roundabouts. As you know, the city pointed out that you have a 30-second delay with a signal versus 8 seconds to the roundabout. The roundabouts, the downtown roundabouts in Vermont, there are 5, have yet to have a bicycle crash, have not had a serious pedestrian crash. We've had 3, we have about every 7 years, we kill a pedestrian at a traffic light. It's not confusing, roundabouts are safe. I'm part of the Pine Street Coalition, about 200 people who are supportive of a new EIS process because this project was really put in the can in about 2006. Carolyn Bates has been here tonight and spoke. She was at the 2006 hearing. In this location, about 95 people, that was the last real public hearing that put this project to bed. 2006 was a year before the iPhone was invented, a year before the first protected bike lane network was put in Montreal, and here we are today. The point is, the Walk Bike Coalition of the city has been, a council has been opposed to this project from the beginning because of that very thing, and the city has refused to respond to that in the design that we have here. I guess finally my major concern is safety, but it's also for the neighborhoods. We are concerned about the safety and the health and the air quality of our neighbors, whether we live in the Old North End or the South End. And yes, the sidewalk along Home Avenue is terrible. I'm a biker, but I only can do sidewalks now because it's not safe to be on the street. And I must admit, it's one of the worst sidewalks in the city is trying to get up and down Home Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any more folks that would like to make any comments? I don't think so. Just going to hand it back over. Yeah.
Great. So thank you all for coming tonight. As if Dale, you could pull up the slide of recapping comments are accepted until October 10th. There are comment forms out back, so feel free to fill those out on your way out. And I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you to the interpreters who are here tonight. There was one comment tonight of seeking to ask some clarifying questions. The crew will stay here for another 10 or 15 minutes out at the poster boards if there are some clarifying questions that folks want to ask. Thanks so much for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you.